Hey Money Movers, welcome back to Millennial Money Moves with Nadia. Today I'm going to be talking about what's been going on with the market and whether a crash is coming and what analysts are saying about that. And because I'm geared towards beginners, instead of getting into all of the details of what's causing that to happen, I kind of want to take it back a couple notches and explain what you can do to prepare, because if you just started investing this past year when a lot of people opened up new Robinhood accounts and started investing, I talked about that in my last video. This is the first market crash you've ever seen. And it's my first market crash that I've noticed these things going on, but this is the first time I've been invested while it's happening. So if you want tips for what to do about that, stay tuned. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell.
So Nadia, what's up?
We making money moves.
Who making money moves?
We making money moves.
You making money moves?
We making money moves.
We making money moves.
We making money. As promised, I'm going to be talking about the market crash that is coming. Now, unfortunately, analysts are predicting that this is going to happen. It has a lot to do with inflation. Without getting into too much details, I'm going to kind of give a brief overview of what's going on right now. And then, like I said, I'm going to talk about what you can do because, when this crash comes, if it comes. Because of inflation, people are more likely to start buying bonds because that's kind of a safe bet when inflation is happening. Now, the Federal Reserve, might start doing something which is called tapering. So the Fed can slow down bond and asset purchases. And if this happens and the economy stops growing as much as it is, this would not be looking so good for the market. So, that's not really what we want. But lots of analysts are saying that it's likely that the market will crash by the end of this month. And it's all kind of dependent on inflation. And, if that tapering happens or what people start doing, how people react, if they have huge sell-offs. Kind of like we saw back when the pandemic first started. That's when you saw a lot of people selling off. There was that huge dip. If you look, I don't know if you guys remember when COVID first started, you would hear the Dow, the NASDAQ, they're all down. And this is kind of why, it's all tied into inflation and how the economy is doing. It's all related. I don't know if that's making sense for those of you who are new, but I'm doing my best to explain it in probably the simplest way possible. I'll probably do another in-depth video where I kind of talk about more details of why that market crash is happening. But what I really wanted to mostly focus on today is how to prepare for when it does. Now, this might sound crazy at first, but I don't think that you should just stop buying. There's ways to prepare for a stock market. I want you to keep in mind that stocks will go up in the long term. If you look back at charts historically, whether it's let's go with the most recent one, the pandemic, you see how stocks, after the crash, stocks started to almost be overvalued, which is when we saw that correction back in March kind of start to happen. But the point is to look in the patterns, to look at any recession we've had or any previous market crashes. Yeah, it might go down, but it always goes back up. The market recovers 100% of the time. And now the reason why I say I'm not going to stop buying is because all the great investors, the Warren Buffetts of the world, they don't stop buying during this time. That's actually when they see it as a good buying opportunity. I've kind of talked about buying on the dips. It's the same principle here. But what I want to warn you about is don't just buy everything because it's low, because not all stocks are good stocks. They're not always good businesses, right? So we want to make sure we're doing our research. And by doing my research, I mean make sure you're invested in a good business. Take a look at balance sheets. Look at their earnings reports. Watch news articles. Be checking for updates about these companies that you are putting your money in. No, you don't have a say in the management of these companies, but you're still a part owner. You have equity in the shares. You're a shareholder. And so it's important that you know what's going on within the company. It's good that you don't have management, because if that company goes under, just having shares in a stock, it's giving you liability. It's protecting you from things that could go wrong in the company, but you still have money invested. And if the company goes down, that's your money that you've invested that you could lose. So I want you to really be careful and make sure you're doing your research. You want to look for a positive cash flow. You want more cash than debt. You want to look at their market cap. You want to look at their plans for growth. You want to look at who the CEO is, if they've had any previous experience running a business, how successful those businesses have been. Like I said, what are predictions? How are they going to grow? How are they going to expand? What are the sales looking like, for something like Tesla or Starbucks? I'm looking at how much they're selling their products, right? Because that's how they're making their money. That's where you're getting that cash flow. So it's important to keep up with new things if you are actively managing your own brokerage accounts. It's so important to stay up to date with these. Now, I know a lot of you are beginners, and that's why I wanted to explain some of the things that I look for when I say I did a deep dive, or when I say, oh, I think this is a good company. It's based off of those key things. There's a little more that goes into it, but I think that's just a good overview of the types of things you should be looking for in a company. Like I said, it's really important to look at how the market has performed historically with market crashes. It's best to invest when prices are cheap, What do they always say? You want to buy low and you want to sell high. That's exactly what we're looking to do here. If that market crashes, it's one of those things where, no, that's not fun. Nobody likes seeing their money in the red, but it could be a blessing in disguise for certain companies, because this is probably the cheapest you'll ever see them if a crash comes. And like I've mentioned before, you want to try to buy in the lowest point, and that's probably in or right after a market crash is occurring. And so before it goes back up, if there's companies that are good companies, you did your research, you have faith in those companies, you know that they'll come back, there are some safe bets to make here, people, and I don't want you to be missing out on those. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out on the market, see what's going on, look at what the Fed is doing, how they're responding to inflation, if more stimulus checks are coming out. All of those things play a huge role. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Someone said, I saw this tweet, and it was like, while we were inside, they raised the prices outside like we weren't going to notice. But I'm sure you guys have noticed everything is a little bit more expensive than before we went in lockdown, and we kind of want things to come back to normal, and that'll also reflect in the stock market as well. It's kind of been all over the place, and prices of everything have been going up. I don't know if you guys have tried to get in the Ubers lately, but they are way, way more expensive than they ever were. But again, to tie this back into the market, my advice remains you can continue to buy stocks in the market crash. There are some that I will probably be buying more of, and I'll do another video soon telling you guys which stocks I'm keeping an eye on, which ones I think are going to be good buys, and if I buy anything, if this market crash happens at the end of the month, I'll be letting you guys know what I've been buying. I haven't bought anything new since last time I made a video. I've just kind of been monitoring and researching and seeing what's going on and figuring out my next move. Like I said, it's always smart to go and check your portfolio, rebalance it, make sure things are looking okay. That's another one of my big tips for beginners. Like I said, when I started investing, I was very EV heavy. And there's nothing wrong with that, with investing in electric vehicles, but I really need to broaden my horizons. I've been looking into pharmaceuticals. I've been looking into lumber. I started getting mutual funds, things like that. It all makes a huge difference. Now, there are some ETFs that I want to invest in. And as I start to invest in those things, I will be letting you guys know. I practice what I preach. I always talk about diversifying your portfolio, and you guys wouldn't be listening to me if I wasn't following my own advice, right? That would just make me not credible. So that's what I've been doing lately. I've also been doing a lot of studying. Some licensing exams I want to try to get done. There's a lot that I've been working on, which is why I haven't been posting regularly, but I will be back in a more routine schedule like you guys are used to. But, don't be too scared with this market crash. And please, whatever you do not start panic selling. Do not just sell off all these companies that you think are worth are good investments. You don't just want to lose your money and lock in that loss. That's what that means, right? If you're selling while it's low, while the market crash is happening, you are locking in your losses, and you're for sure not going to be able to see it through and see if it ever goes back up, because guess what? You already sold it. So what we want to do, just to recap, look at, know your history. Look at what's been happening with the market in previous crashes and even previous corrections, because you want to use some of the same skills. Don't panic sell. Do not panic sell, because you want to remember that stocks will go back up in the long term if they're good companies, and I can't stress that enough. Not just any company, not every company, good companies. We want to look at their cash flow, their earnings reports, look at the amount of debt they have, look who's running the company, those sorts of things. And third, last but not least, you can keep buying stocks even if the market is crashing. You know, you want to look at Peter Lynch and Warren Buffett and what they do in times like this. They're some of the greats. Of course, I look at their videos and speeches that they've made and talks that they've had where they give advice on what they were doing during these times. There's something wrong with following advice from someone who you know has been successful. That's what I do. That's a key thing for me. So again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. And I will be back with another video. They'll be consistent again before you know it. Again, if there's any topics you guys want me to go over, please just leave a comment in the description box, in the comment section below, not in the description box, but in the description box, you'll find links to Coinbase and to Webull. They're offering promotions right now where if you click on the links, deposit $100, you can get some free stocks, you can get some free crypto. So if you want to get started in investing with this crash that we have coming, now's your chance. So definitely go and check those out. And most importantly, remember to have a good day. And we're making money moves. All right? Bye.